Hey everybody, good evening. Thanks for checking us out tonight. We're going to be talking about a really critically important aspect of health, and that is sleep. We're going to put a lot of attention on it this entire month for a lot of reasons, and I'm actually going to put a link below to watch a short 2-minute segment from ABC News about the importance of sleep and helping you understand that it's beyond just taking a sleeping pill. One of the most important takeaways that I think that this would show you is the fact that when people are taking sleeping pills or taking melatonin, as they described in this article, you're actually just delaying getting good information about something that can be much more important about your health. And so they're showing all kinds of deaths that are related to that, not directly because of these sleeping pills, but because of the fact that you're ignoring what is actually going wrong in the body. So we're really wanting to put our attention on figuring out what is that information we're getting. I know there's a lot of you out there that struggle with insomnia. There's a lot of people who have a hard time falling asleep. A lot of people have a hard time staying asleep. A lot of people having a hard time getting restorative sleep. And all of those things give you information about what could potentially be missing from your body. And here's the most important thing that we always talk about is whenever it comes to any type of health challenge, very rarely is it isolated down to just one single thing. And so we're always trying to take one single solution and apply it to a multifaceted problem. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're giving you all the information that you are going to be armed with to be able to really tackle these problems. In our office, we have created a little bit of a do's and don'ts checklist for how to get a good night's rest. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but what I tell people, if you're having a hard time sleeping, we're going to start here. And if we get all of these checked off and we're still having a problem, now we're going to go a lot deeper. We're going to start looking at things like how your hypothalamus could be functioning, how your adrenal glands could be functioning, how your digestion could be functioning, because all of those are going to come to bear on it to understand how complex this really is. But the most important thing is helping you understand that there are things that you can do to always be improving it. And you're always things you can be checking off a list to make sure you're ruling out what could possibly be the problem. We really need people to be getting more sleep. Sleep is incredibly important. I'm constantly somewhat concerned about all the sleep-deprived people that I'm driving on the roads with, because I know that somebody falls asleep at the wheel every second in this country, and that is alarming. 2 really good books to help you understand that. We've talked about Arianna Huffington's book, The Sleep Revolution, a lot. The second one that I really recommend for people is called Sleep Smarter by Shawn Stevenson. An excellent read for people who are struggling, and again, it's going to give you a lot of checklists to look at, to rule out on your own. I actually spoke to a young lady today who has a son that they're giving their child melatonin. I know Dr. Kelsey talked about the concerns in that, and I'm very concerned about people giving children melatonin, especially because it does tell the pineal gland that it does not need to produce that melatonin. And it ignores why that person isn't falling asleep. And in children in particular, I'm finding a lot of them not eating foods that have the calming minerals, the magnesium, the calcium, the potassium that your body needs to be able to sleep. On this sheet, we also give you a real quick lowdown of a few key nutrients that you need. This is actually borrowed from the content from Shawn Stevenson's book. So calcium, potassium, selenium, magnesium, and I also just put some whole food sources for these to make it really easy to integrate those into your life so you can really start to get those nutrients taken care of. Also vitamins that are essential for it. Vitamin C, B6, vitamin D, omega fatty acids, tryptophan, and why they're important. All of these nutrients are important to making sure you're getting a good night's sleep. And if you're missing any or all of these, this would be the first place that I would look, because guess what? Your body doesn't just need those for sleep, it needs it for all kinds of things. So we're going to have these available. We're actually going to be including a version of this in next month's Strong and Health box, which is going to be the sleep box, so that you can get it delivered right to your door. If you can't come in and get one of these, we're happy to be able to send those out, along with some goodies that will help you get to sleep a little bit better. I'm just going to go over 4 of these do's on the do's and don't list. And I was told by someone that I should say avoid these instead of don't, because I don't want to give people the wrong information. But number 1, I think is super important, and I'm always talking to people about this, is understanding the value of sleep. I will put another link below to a great TED Talk. It's about 20 minutes for those of you who really need to up your awareness of how tremendously important sleep is. And I think that this article below on the ABC News will also help you understand the importance of it when you take into consideration, when you're just masking and taking a sleeping pill, the fact that it still causes all kinds of terrible health conditions. You really need to be getting to sleep. It is incredibly important. So number one is always knowing the value of sleep and making it a priority, scheduling it into your life. Personally, I actually try to squeeze as many things as I can into a day, and I know a lot of you do the same thing. I'm notorious for trying to get 100 things done into a day that only 10 are supposed to get done. But I still have to find time to make sure that I am scheduling nights where I am getting to sleep a little earlier. For me, it's Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. I make it a rule that I try to get to bed early enough that I can be shooting for 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep no matter what that night. So I'm not perfect to do it all the time, but I know that I need a whole month to remind myself of the value of sleep and make sure that I'm getting the sleep that I need to be able to function. And so knowing the value of sleep is number one that I want to focus on. Another one that I like to point out in here is getting more natural sunlight during the day. The earlier, the better. Always encouraging people to step outside and get some natural sun exposure. It's way more than just vitamin D for you, although you'll see vitamin D is on the backside and it's important for sleep. But when you're getting natural sunlight exposure, it's helping set your internal time clock. Your pineal gland is very sensitive to light, and the light that is happening in the morning and the light that's happening at night is very different, and it helps your body understand what hormones to release and when. And that goes for another thing that's going to be on here, and that is making sure that your bedroom is very, very dark. Melatonin is not going to be released when there's too much light. One of the major things that helps release that melatonin, which is also going to be associated with serotonin, these sleep hormones, is how much light is hitting that pineal gland. So again, getting light exposure in the morning, outdoors, making sure you're getting that on your skin is very, very important, and for your eyes. But also then darkness at night is really, really important. One of the really interesting studies that they talked about in here was they would have people in a completely dark room, and they were monitoring the quality of their sleep, and they would shine a little light on the back of their knee, so it wasn't anywhere near their eyes, and it still disrupted their sleep. So light is a huge factor, and getting natural exposure to sunlight is massively helpful in setting your clock and making sure it's good. So we know the value of it, we're making sure we're getting the right sunlight, we're making sure that we're having darkness at night. And one of the other ones that I found really interesting on here is keeping it cool in the bedroom. So there's a lot of different people who think that they like it really warm and they really don't like it being cool. And what I tell people who are worried about being too cold at night is it doesn't necessarily have to be your whole body that's cold, just your head. One of the studies that he talked about, which I found fascinating, is that they had a group of insomniacs, a group of people who really couldn't sleep, and a group control group. And they actually just put cooling caps on the insomniacs, and they wound up getting better quality sleep than the control group just by cooling their head. And the temperature that is best, that is suggested, is somewhere between 60 and 68 degrees to sleep at night. Yes, so these are just some of the things that, if you haven't done any of those are the first things that we're going to look at. And we have a whole other list of things that you can do to try to make sure that you're optimizing your ability to sleep at night. And if you have more questions for us, that's what we're here for. We have to get ready for the actual live health talk. So I hope those tips were very helpful for you. If you have any more questions or any specific aspect of your health and your sleep that you're struggling with, please send those questions, and we're more than happy to answer them for you, because sleep is incredibly important. If you're looking for the easy button on this, again, you can just go to the Strong Health box and we'll ship that to you, give you all the information with some guidance on that too for next month. And in conclusion, I want to make sure I'm encouraging you to try to go to bed a little earlier tonight. Make sure that you're striving for 7.5 as your threshold. If you go below 6, you're definitely getting, you're underslept and you're not getting enough. That's one of the key things to look for. A lot of times I ask people, how quickly are you falling asleep at night? And I get a lot of people saying, oh, less than 5 minutes, no problem. And to me, that might be a sign that you're just not getting enough sleep overall. So pay attention to your signs and symptoms of your body. If you know somebody who's struggling with sleep, you can send them our way. Give us a call. There are many other things. I know that we're working with some dentists in the area who are talking about the breathing while you're asleep. There's so many different things that you can rule out before you have to go start taking risks on the dangerous aspects of sleeping pills that are obviously going to be talked about in this article below this. But share this information with somebody who needs it. Share it with your friends you don't know who needs it. And keep the questions coming so we can make sure that we're here to help. You guys have a good night and hope you sleep really well.